I know I said last Monday that Monday would be mock draft Mondays, but that's going to be pushed till tomorrow as I am going to be away the day after I record this on Monday. Not going to be able to record one. So you're getting Midseason Awards. It is the midseason mark in the NFL. It's been a really interesting NFL season so far. And let's go ahead and talk about the MVP, the Offensive Player of the Year, the Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. This is just my opinion, obviously, and things are really close. That's why this is a mid-season awards. Obviously, at the end of the season, things could be drastically different, but this is just where they are right now, in my opinion, as of 7:25 p.m. on Sunday night. And starting with the biggest of all, we're going with MVP, and I'm taking Josh Allen. Of course, stats aren't everything, but you can't debate how well Josh Allen has played this year. The Bills are one of the best teams in the league, and Josh Allen is obviously the biggest reason why. I think Patrick Mahomes is close. He has favorable numbers compared to Josh Allen right now, but you also have to keep in mind that Patrick Mahomes has played one more game. Allen also offers you a ton in the ground game as well. Right now, I think it's probably a two-horse race. I think it's Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, and I'm going to go with Josh Allen for this one. Show him a little love. 17 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions, has thrown for close to 2,000 yards, and that's probably going to go over as I record this because tonight he's playing on Sunday Night Football. He's probably going to end up going over that 250-yard mark to pass Patrick Mahomes. He's thrown for multiple touchdowns in multiple games, and he's also been a fantastic runner of the football as well. Multiple games of 50 or more yards as a rusher and some very, very close. Multiple touchdowns on the ground as well. He's just been a very complete player for the Bills this year, and that's why he's my midseason MVP. And really, you could just as easily throw Josh Allen Offensive Player of the Year as well. That's a position that he plays and arguably has been, the Offensive Player of the Year. Patrick Mahomes, kind of the same type of deal there. But I'm going to mix it up and go with a non-quarterback. I'm going to take a running back, and I'm going with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb has been awesome this year, currently 3rd in the league in rushing yards as I record this, but they play Monday night. I think he's probably going to go back into the lead. All he needs is 40 yards. He'll have a pretty clean lead for the rushing yards. Only 126 attempts. Josh Jacobs has been great too. But also what stands out about Nick Chubb this year is just how often he's able to convert for his team. Obviously, there are a bunch of things factoring into how often a player can score, and sometimes it is just luck of the draw. Maybe you get down in there, a receiver catches the ball down to the 3-yard line, and you run it in 3 times, and one of those goes over. But to score on such a consistent basis, 8 touchdowns is a huge mark for a running back at this point in the season. He's on pace for 16, of course, or 17 with the 17 games. We'll have to see what happens, but yeah, he's been fantastic. He's been the lifeblood of this Browns offense with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. It's just feed Nick Chubb. He's getting 15 to 25 carries a game, going for over 100 yards pretty consistently 3 times this year, 4 times this year actually, and 2 just around 90. And a touchdown basically every single game. And the games where he doesn't score a touchdown, you can pretty much bet that he's going to score multiple in the next game. Nick Chubb has been fantastic. He's been really, really good, and I think worthy of Offensive Player of the Year here in the midseason awards. Defensive Player of the Year. This is another interesting one because it's what do you value more? Do you value defensive back play? There have been some really good DBs playing at a high level. However, it's tough to choose against some of the premier pass rushers in the league. Aaron Donald pretty much is in the conversation every single year, if not winning it. But I'm going to go with a different player. It was someone who was the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year last year, won Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think this shouldn't be a surprise at this point. It's Micah Parsons. Sacks, of course, aren't everything as well, but Micah Parsons has been incredibly productive so far, and a number of other pass rushers have been also. Matt Judon is somebody I want to show some love to. He's been great this year. And as you can see, Micah Parsons has multiple games of more than 1 sack, had 2 against Tampa, had 2 against Cincinnati, 2 against the Rams, 2 against Detroit. Didn't record one today against Chicago, but did have a fumble recovery, which he returned for a touchdown. He's been awesome. If you see pass rush grades here on PFF, Micah Parsons has the #1 pressure total in the league coming into this week, and pressures are a great indicator of how productive a pass rusher is truly being, regardless of sacks. I mean, Judon's been great, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, some of those guys you expect to see at the top of the league, Max Crosby, even Brian Burns right around that 30-plus mark. There have been a number of players who have played well. Quinnen Williams has been spectacular this year for the Jets. He's really blossoming into a superstar. I mean, Chris Jones up front, Aaron Donald has still been great, but right now I think Micah Parsons is playing like the best defensive player in the league, and that's why he's winning my midseason Defensive Player of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year. There are a number of different players, of course, in contention for this, as we'll also talk about with the defense. It's close right now. However, I'm going to show some love to someone that is absolutely not going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and it's not because they're not a talented player, not because they haven't played great. It's because they've been injured, unfortunately. I'm going with Breece Hall. You can say so many nice things about a bunch of rookies. Garrett Wilson starting to play really well. It's all the Jets, really. Chris Olave has been spectacular this year. Kenneth Walker's been really good. Dameon Pierce, of course. But Breece Hall, after kind of a slow start, splitting carries, really blossomed into the main featured back in week 4 against Pittsburgh, had 17 carries for 66 yards, scored a touchdown, then went for close to 100 against the Dolphins before finally eclipsing that 100-yard mark against Green Bay. Had a huge start to his game against Denver, 4 carries for 72 yards. I mean, you can see how awesome he was as a receiver as well. 6 catches for 53 yards against the Bengals, 2 catches for 100 yards against the Dolphins as well. He was playing great and getting better and better every week, and then unfortunately a season-ending injury would pretty much knock him out of the race. So you could say, you know, maybe Kenneth Walker's ahead right now, maybe Dameon Pierce is ahead right now, Chris Olave, whoever you want to say. But I'm going to show some love to Breece Hall because he has no chance to win it at this point. He was great, playing as good as any rookie in the league, and that's why he's my pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year, at least at the midseason mark. Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I haven't really seen any of the edge rushers playing phenomenally well, at least, you know, stat stuffing and worthy of winning the actual award. Aiden Hutchinson has played fairly well, some cleanup sacks more than actual just domination. Trayvon Walker, I think, has been exceptional. Kayvon Thibodeau's been pretty good when he's been on the field. Didn't play the first couple weeks of the season. But let's talk about some of the defensive backs. Jack Jones from New England has been awesome, you know, basically locked down for a rookie corner, and he's been so great. Tariq Woolen has been so adept at forcing turnovers. He's been an absolute ball hawk for the Seahawks, but I'm going to go with another Jet here for Rookie of the Year, and for Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Sauce Gardner. Only 1 interception this season, but at least 1 pass deflection in every game that he's played in, including double-digit tackles against Denver. But we know at corner, it's not about interceptions and pass deflections. It's about how many yards you give up. How locked down of a player are you? Because if a quarterback's not even throwing to your side, not even testing you, obviously it's going to be a little bit difficult to get those pass deflections, pass breakups, of course, interceptions. So Sauce Gardner has been someone who's been so great at limiting the amount of catches and yards he allows. As you can see, the most yards he's allowed in a game, according to PFF, was 51 against the Bengals. And other than that, he hasn't even gone over 35. 8 yards against Baltimore, 33 against Cleveland, only 9 yards against Pittsburgh, 26 against Miami, 8 against Green Bay, 16 against Denver. He has been locked down. He's played a little handsy at times, and he has been penalized a couple of times, but only 2 on the season in the grand scheme of things is pretty great. As you can see here, his passer rating allowed is only a 51.1. Very, very low passer rating. I think if it was like in the 30s, low 30s, you'd be better off actually throwing it into the ground than throwing it at him. His catch percentage allowed on targets is only 42.5%. But yeah, that number of 151 yards on the year up to the midseason point, he's been locked down. I got to give him credit. I got to give him my Defensive Rookie of the Year at the midseason mark. He's been special. He's been awesome. And for someone of his size, 6'3", 200, that can move as well as he can, he's going to be a nightmare when he continues to get better and better and better. He's already playing like one of the better corners in the league. It's only a matter of time with a rookie season like this, with a first half. He's been great. Comeback Player of the Year. There are some interesting candidates, but I think one stands out, you know, head and shoulders above the rest, and it's got to be that guy right behind me, Not Adrian Peterson, but Saquon Barkley. Saquon has dealt with some injuries in his career, that's for sure. 2020 obviously only played in 2 games, had 34 yards of a season. He's played behind some really bad offensive lines as well. And for a time being, in 2021, he seemed like he lost all of his explosiveness. He wasn't hitting holes. He wasn't reading blocks, which has kind of always been a problem for him. But this year, he is completely transformed in the Brian Daboll offense. His explosiveness is back. His vision is looking better than ever. Saquon is just being that player that we all thought he was coming out of college and that we saw in his first couple years in the league. Notably, that rookie season where he had 1,300 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns, and then 91 catches for 721 yards and 4 touchdowns. Amazing rookie year. He was looking like the best running back in the NFL already, and then landslide, completely downhill from there. But this year, he is back. Didn't have an amazing day today by any means, only 2.7 yards per carry, 53 rushing yards, and a touchdown on 20 attempts. But as you can see here, his year has been just awesome. He is currently second in the league in rushing yards at 726. Adds a few touchdowns in there as well. For 5.1 yards per carry is a really, really great number for a running back. He's been productive as a receiver. He's been productive as a runner. His number's actually up to 779 yards, as this has not been updated in the top here, and has scored another touchdown as well. Saquon's just been awesome. I think he's got to be my comeback player of the year coming off these injuries and then last season not really looking so great. This year, he's back. And then the final one I have is Coach of the Year. And to me, showing my bias, there's only one true option. It's Brian Daboll. And I think it's fairly undeniable. Yes, the Giants lost to the Seahawks today. A really bad Richie James fumble put them in a terrible position. Ended up losing by multiple touchdowns. But the game was very, very close for a long time. But who, coming into the year, thought the Giants would be 6-1 at any point? Surely not. 6-2 now. But what really stands out is how the Giants have been able to win these one-possession games. 7 games have been decided, I believe, by 1 possession or less, and the Giants have 6 wins. 21-20 over the Titans to start things off. Won by a field goal against the Panthers. Lost to the Cowboys. That's going to happen. They're a pretty talented team. But then a win over the Bears. A win over the Packers in London. A win over the Ravens after some Lamar mistakes. A win over the Jaguars. The Giants have been able to make the plays when they needed to. They've been able to stay in games with every team so far. I know the Seahawks game looks like it was a bit of a slaughter, but it wasn't like that. 14 points by the Seahawks at the end of the game, of course, gives them the lead. Big fumble really cost the Giants. Special teams mistake. But this has been the guy. Came over from Buffalo in the offseason, was their offensive coordinator, of course, was at Alabama as well. Got a rich pedigree, and he's been awesome. Really, really great coach for the Giants. He's fired up. You can tell the players really like playing for him, and it's just a miracle start to this season for the Giants. Are they a good team? Not really, but they play like it, and I think largely in part to Brian Daboll. As this team continues to get more talented, you'd hope they would under Joe Shane. Brian Daboll surely will continue to win more and more games as a head coach. It's been an unbelievable, unprecedented start, and especially shattering our expectations. Daboll is my coach of the year. Those are my midseason awards. Let me know what you disagree with. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you would do differently. And I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.